Got a new box today. Super excited. Let's crack in and see what we have, shall we? Those of you who've been watching the channel for a little while will remember back to a similar product to this, a very big battery solar generator. But a lot of you were adamant that I reach out to Inergy and also review, at the time, what was the Kodiak battery. When I reached out, I was fortunate timing. They were actually just about to release their new Apex battery. So they were kind enough to send one of these over to take a look at it. And this thing is phenomenal. So I want to talk a little bit about pros, cons, kind of put this through its paces, give you guys a good review of what this is and what it isn't. You're going to notice right from the front, there's a lot of thought put in here in terms of just availability of ports and making this thing just a monster to be able to do things with. So what my immediate thoughts in pulling this out of the package, turning it on, kind of getting a sense of it, is it's rugged. It may not be as polished in terms of look, but this thing is a beast. Capacity, you're 1100 watt hours. Being a lithium ion battery, it is a little bit lighter. This is a 25-pound battery, okay? Dimensions, you're looking at 7 inches tall, 14 inches wide, 8 inches deep. So for what it delivers, it's a fair-sized battery. It's actually really reasonable, and picking this up, I definitely noticed a difference. The weight's there, but I'm not straining to pick it up. What's cool about this is you've got your 6 AC plugs right here, but additionally throwing in an RV port as well as your 2 DC connectors, so I don't always see those, your 12 volts. And then as far as the USB is concerned, right out of the gate, we're coming with some nice high-speed USB Type A connectors as well as USB-C built into both of these. So that's going to expand your availability for, the different types of devices that you're charging. Now these two right here are proprietary. These are the Inergy proprietary for like their lighting packages and things like that. All right, over on this side, obviously you got your 2 fans. Popping up out of both sides is going to be your carry case. This does come with a shoulder strap to make it a little bit easier to carry. You've got 3 circuit breakers right here. If things do exceed the load and need to be reset, I can just come over here and tap those, and that's a great way to access that directly. Coming to the other side, you've got your standard wall and car adapters, which are going to plug in right here. Again, that's an Inergy proprietary sized port. Whereas this right here is going to be your high-speed port. This is where I'm plugging in their fast charger as well as the solar panels that they sell. And then as you'll see, another big fan to kind of keep things cooled down, as well as these 2 expansion ports. Now this is really interesting. For a big battery like this is a lithium ion. These 2 actually give you the option to expand battery capacity to include lead acid, AGM, gel cell, or Inergy lithium 12-volt batteries. So pretty cool. Obviously don't hook up anything that's got its own charging source, but that effectively expands the capacity of that battery from 1100 watt hours to whatever you're adding to that. So very, very cool. I have seen similar to that in other competing brands. However, to be able to hook the lithium ion up to a lead acid, that's pretty significant. That's pretty unique. So I do like that. One of the other features I like about this is the way that you can manage your power, okay? So basically everything here, so for example, my USB, my 12 volt, my light ports, things like that, those are all going to be accessible through DC only. So this little switch up here is going to give me 3 options, okay? So off is what we were just on. Turning to the left is actually going to give me direct access to all the DC power, okay? My 12 volts, like I said, my USBs, my lighting. I can effectively separate out the AC inverter and not have to run that and expend a little bit more power, okay? Which is pretty attractive. I really like that. If I switch this, again, past off and then over to the right, that's actually going to turn on or involve my AC inverter. So I get everything now, all the DC ports as well as the AC ports. You'll probably notice right off the bat, I'm going to get a little bit closer here. Immediately that fan comes on. I don't know if you can pick that up. It's not super loud. It's not like a jet engine or anything like that, but it is louder than some of the other battery packs that I have reviewed in the past. For somebody like me, where one of my primary reasons for a battery is really for CPAP sleeping, I'm going to have to find out if that ends up being nice white noise or if it's going to interfere with things. But You'll notice right now, just by having that on, there we go, I'm actually getting, so a little bit about the display here. This is showing me my battery percentage, a little bit of an icon of how full we are. It's discharge versus charging. That kind of shows me which way, and the direction of the arrow shows if I'm output or input. This little number up here to the right is actually my aggregate, my net number. Okay, so that 22 watt hour right there shows me, based on what's coming in and going out, what's my net. And right now I'm discharging 22 watts. So it's a little high. With nothing plugged in right now, it's a little higher than I would like it to be. If I switch over to DC only, it does change me to 7 watts, which again is surprising if I'm accessing just DC power. Although I don't see my discharge here. I'm gonna have to play around with that and see if I'm actually using the 7 watts or what that might be. But just for strictly having the AC inverter on and nothing else plugged in, it was a little surprising to see that be as high as it is. Right there, I'm at 18 watt hours. But just be warned, that is going to consume power. Involving those AC inverters is going to do that. It is going to drain a little bit. That's why on all my CPAP videos, I always recommend going through 12 volt DC if you can, because it skips all the power conversions and the inverters and things like that. Essentially, my inverter, I'm going to get 1500 watts continuous if I need, with a 3000 watt hour spike, 3000 watt spike as it starts up. So we can handle some bigger objects. Total delivery would be the 1500 watts plus 200 from DC. So you've got a 1700 watt delivery at a continuous pace. But obviously with these batteries, guys, the slower you can drain them, the longer they will have longevity, the better you're going to be treating your battery. You don't want to just drain this whole thing all at once by hooking up, let's say, 1000 watt heater and getting an hour's worth of life out of it. It's just not going to do very well if you're consistently doing that. You're going to find your battery life is diminished very quickly. But all in all, I'm impressed. So let's kind of run this through some of its paces, test it on a few things, and see how she does. All right, so we're outside. We are going to try some of the solar capabilities. I actually opted to go with the Lynx panel. Definitely smaller, thinner. Well, smaller, I don't know if it's actually smaller height and width wise, but you look at just how thin that panel is. It's fantastic. Got the grommets coming with it, and so really just, I think, versatile in terms of being able to mount this thing. And so we're going to go ahead and connect this to the panel, just kind of show you. As you'll notice, it comes with these connectors here, a little bit short coming off the panel. I mean, definitely, you know, reachable, and I can certainly charge it like that. I did opt to get the 30-foot charging cable. Oh, fascinating. Okay. I've got my cable. Definitely glad I got the 30, but I will be honest, I really would have liked to see this panel come with its own native plug in terms of being able to plug directly into the battery. I think it's a little weird that I need to have an extra cable to use the battery. A little bit strange, but it does give me definitely some flexibility in where I can position this and what I can do. So let's go ahead and plug that in. I do have a nice amount of sunshine right now. So I don't know if you can see this. That little blue light right here indicates that it's fast charging. You only get that really off of this port right here. This is a 100 watt panel. What we're going to do is hold this directly angled to the sun. So I don't know if you can see that. I'm probably angled about as good as I can get. I've turned on DC only, so I'm not using anything going out. I'm pulling in about 63 watts charging. As far as solar panels go, that's actually pretty good. I'm used to seeing about half of what they promise, you know, on a good day. So right now I've got good sun, I'm pointing right at it, good angle, and I'm getting over half. I feel like that's a pretty good connection there. So I definitely like the panel. Definitely might look at getting, you know, depending on the needs here, getting maybe multiple panels, but I could see that this could, hopefully with a good day of daylight, charge this thing up. All right, so I just brought it back in as a comparison. I've plugged it into the wall charger right here,
And let me see if I can bring that down. Okay, there you go. So as you can see, it's charging, and right now I'm pulling in 83 watts, so that's really good, even for a standard charger. Really, really good. So this will still be a little bit faster, but this battery does have an included MPPT charge optimizer, which means that based on that solar charge, that's why we're getting a better charge than than I was expecting, because this automatically takes the solar energy and knows what best to do with it and how to deliver it to the battery, which MPPTs are just invaluable when you're dealing with solar charging. But yeah, I'm pretty impressed with this.
Cool. So I'm here at my fridge. We're going to try this out and see how well it handles. I mean, it's a big battery. It should be able to do it pretty well, but I want to see exactly how much it's actually pulling, and then I'm going to see if maybe I can get a solar panel stretched out to try, see what the aggregate would be, or the net. And then we're going to fire this thing up. Right there. Okay. So spike to about 650 right now. About 12 volts. Right now I can hear the fridge powering up. Cool. And it seems like we're mainly staying just under the 200. I'm sorry, just under the 300 watt range. And yeah. So we'll leave that going for a while. I mean, the fridge is running, so that's about as bad as it should get. I think it's going to handle this for actually quite a while. So like I said, let me plug in a solar panel and see what we can do to even that out. I mean, obviously there would be still a net loss, but overall I think it would really extend the time that I could run this fridge before this battery's dead. So. Okay, so I've set up the solar panel. It's about the best angle I can get right now. Got my cord going into the house. Let's go see how it's doing on the battery. Okay, so that took a nice big bite out of it, as you can see. I mean, it was hovering just under 300 before, and now we're looking solidly at, about 120 watts. Now that's still with the fridge running. Obviously, one panel is not going to let me sustain this indefinitely, but if I were to hook a few of these up, the max charge input on this, if I remember right, is 300 watts. So I think that'd be doable, in terms of just a sustainable battery to keep things running in the event of a long-term blackout. So, we've got to do a CPAP test on this. This is still my old ResMed S9. It should be really similar with a lot of the different models out there. I don't have this plugged in. I'm not having it solar charged or anything like that. I just want to give you an idea of how much energy this is taking. So I haven't changed any of the settings. I've got it on the comfort setting. As you can see here, I'm at 76 on my climate. That's about right where I like to keep it. Pretty basic, but that heats up the tube. That's definitely going to use some energy to run the humidifier and heat up the tube. So it's going to pull. So what I'm going to do is probably sleep with this tonight, just running as I normally would. Normal humidity settings, everything like that. And we'll get a sense of how much that drains out of this battery, because normally when I'm camping, I don't have my humidity really turned on. It's like rock bottom, because you're out in the cold and you don't necessarily need it. So we'll see. I'll get back with you. Okay, so just had this thing power my CPAP for, it was a good 7 hours sleep, and did fantastically well. I had no problems. Like I said, I didn't adjust down my humidity settings, and so as you can see right here, let me dial in, I'm still at 96%. I mean, this thing did not draw a lot of power. I was really impressed with the way this handled things. So this could go several nights. Really interesting. But again, I was powering this through just the DC plug here, not the AC inverter. Okay, so it's the morning. I just did a full night using the AC inverter. I'll kind of show you. So right now we ended up at 85%, and as you can see, I mean, it's used more energy for me to run it off of the AC. So I mean, definitely a testament to DC versus AC, but still did like a champ. I mean, I had no problems. That's a pure sine wave AC inverter, but definitely uses more energy. As you can see, about 10% more of this battery per night. All right, so general thoughts. Now that I've had time to get acquainted with this solar generator and understand its features, I'm impressed. Given the design, I think there's definitely some that look a little bit more polished. out on the market. But again, this is a feature-heavy battery. So what you're getting is more options for the cost as opposed to razzle-dazzle. And especially now that they've actually price matched a little bit more with the industry to be more competitive, I think this is definitely a really good choice for anybody's long-term prepping plan. So I went ahead and put a link to the website down below. Go ahead and check them out. Let them know that we sent you. Please go ahead and give me a like, give me a subscribe, so you can be notified when we come out with new content. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you next time.